All right, welcome to Be the Market Expert. And let's kick this thing off because I think this is relevant. So, real estate news, one of many news outlets that is going to pick up this and run with it. It says weak jobs report fuels more rate cut speculation. All right, first and foremost, none of us have a crystal ball. And what we're looking at this thing is July's employment report suggests the labor market has been weakening for some time, which could prompt the Fed to cut rates in September if inflation eases. All right, cool. So let's look at this thing. It says the U.S. added 73 jobs in July, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics made significant downward revisions to the May and June numbers, which, firstly, I think this is super unfortunate. And let's let's step back and let's be Americans first, right? So as we're looking at this thing, I think what's super unfortunate is that after the rate meeting comes out, that's when we have some revisions. And it's like that's super unfortunate that we thought that we had this very robust employment numbers coming out, and then the Fed said, okay, we're going to hold firm again. And then we come to find out that it wasn't as awesome, and it feels weird. It says soon after the report was released, President Donald Trump fired the head of the BLS, making unsupported claims about political bias. So really, and when we look at this thing, jobs are looking good. The numbers are looking good. The numbers are looking good. We have a Fed meeting. The Fed says we're not dropping rates because the numbers look awesome. Soon as they make their stance, and they say we'll see you guys in 2 months, job loss data comes out and says, actually, we have to make some revisions. We were way off. And so Trump said, okay, and fires the person. Now, right, wrong, indifferent, it is what it is. This says mortgage rates fell significantly on that news, but it's unclear about how the Fed Reserve will weigh employment and inflation concerns when it meets next month. Well, here's the deal. Like, as we're looking at this thing, and we're talking about these revised numbers, I think what we also have to keep in mind is one of the things that we've also seen is not all the Fed presidents are aligned anymore. All right. So we actually have a divided party inside of this Federal Reserve, and they're not aligned. And before, they would toe the company line, and they would just say, hey, this is the way that we're all rowing, and they would row. Well, now we're seeing more and more stuff come up to where they're saying, hey, with political pressures, we should be being a little bit more submissive, so we don't have a bunch of oversight over us. We're also seeing people that are asking Jerome Powell to step away. We're seeing other Fed presidents that are voting against keeping it the way that it is. And guys, this is a lot different than what it's looked like. So again, we don't have a crystal ball. And yet there's a lot of things that are pointing to we're probably going to see a rate cut. Now, here's the deal. We do have a job loss recession Fed. And we've known this, right? Keep in mind that when over the last couple of years, we've seen the Fed pop up and say, hey, we're going to go through and we got to cool inflation. We have to cool inflation. We have to cool inflation. Inflation's cooled. Yes, it's moved a little bit. And yes, inflation's cooled. And rates have not gone down because we truly have a job loss recession Fed. And what that means is this. They're not going to stimulate the economy until people start losing their jobs. And I get it. When we think about this, we get sick in our stomach, and we should, because it's super anti-American. We do not want people to lose their jobs. A lot of heartache, right? A lot of financial stress burdens that this puts on people, and we do not want that. And yet, guys, you are in an industry where a recession is not bad for us as far as selling a product. And again, like that's not what none of us are cheering for this, right? But I do want you to understand that if we do start seeing more people with less jobs, the Fed, the only way they can stimulate the economy is to drop rates. And we will be disproportionately affected like we have been so far, right? Consider this. We deal with a price point in Colorado, $600,000. All right, $600,000 price point. The cost of money is not cheap. That means that when people are looking for houses, they have a real decision to make because they are doing $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Like those are very real numbers. And they have to decide, like, does it make sense for me to take that much money out of my earnings to go purchase a home? So we're disproportionately affected. Then when we see interest rates go down, the cost of money becomes more available to everybody, and you see more people raise their hand. We're also disproportionately affected because more people will go out and buy real estate. All right. So again, when we think about this, we think about like Amazon. No one's second guessing going and buying a $15 item and putting it on Prime to get tomorrow, right? No one does that. They're going to put it on their credit card, they're going to pay their monthly whatever, and they're going to move forward. But yet, when we talk about real estate, they actually look at this and they said, "Oh my God, that's $5,000 a month. I can't put that on a credit card. I don't have that Amex Black card to do that." All right, so we'll see how this thing plays out. There's a lot of smart people that believe that we are going to see the rates go down. We will see a rate cut. Now, we just don't know what that looks like. Is it going to be 25 basis points? Is it going to be 50 basis points? Is it going to be whatever? We do not know. But what I can tell you guys is this. I do wholeheartedly believe, just based off of historical data, that when interest rates go down, we see more hands go in the air and they start going forward. But here's what's neat. We've already seen this, and we'll look at a slide. We're already seeing purchase application data. We're already seeing hands going up. We've already seen people go through to figure out what they qualify for. And so when this happens, what we also are seeing is people are slow to pull the trigger on purchasing homes right now because they feel like they have a lot of time, they have a lot of inventory, they have options, which is great. We want options, right? We absolutely want that. We don't want people. We do not want 2021 all over again. We do not. That was an awful time, right? To where there's multiple offer situations. We had this auction house mentality to where the prices were just going up and up and up. And then you were having to give up rights, give up concessions, and it was just no good, even for the seller, because keep in mind, sellers become buyers, right? So even though that the seller was making a lot of money and they were in the driver's seat, guess what? They also had to go buy a house. And so they got to go through that process on the buy side as well. It was not a good environment. But yet, what I do think will happen is when we're going through this, what we're going to start to see is more homes are going to come off the market, more buyers are going to come online, they're going to have less options. They are at a life stage where they need to go buy a house, and we will start seeing this thing pick up because they're going to try to time the market, and they don't know how long the interest rates are going to last, and they're going to move on it. So let's switch gears though, and let's talk about this. 12 states are back above pre-pandemic housing levels, and guess what? We're one of them. And so if we look at this thing, it says active housing inventory. We'll get to that in a different slide. But here you go, check this out. So here's just 2017 through today, all July. Keep in mind, we start to think of 2019 as the last time we had a normal market. All right, so anything that we base anything off of, we're not going to the last couple of years. And guys, you have been real estate agents in some years that have not been normal. Think about this, right? So let's look at it. 2020, global pandemic. 2021, we had this housing boom because interest rates were nothing. Money was free. 2022 got a little weird. The first half, we had very low interest rates. The second half, they skyrocketed. And it wasn't how high they went, it's how quickly they went up. 23, they stayed elevated. 24, they stayed elevated. 25, they're kind of going down a little bit. But none of these markets have been the same because now we're sitting in a market with homes that are sitting on the market for way longer. So check this out. We think of 2020 or 2019 as a normal market, and we look at the inventory levels of where we are right now, 1.1 million homes. Well, 2019 had 1.2, 2018 1.2, 2017 1.3. Well, think about this. Let's think rational. There are more people that are in the United States today than there was in 19, 18, and 17. All right. So let's just say this. The American dream is not dead. The American dream has been slowed down because of the cost of money. All right. To be able to go out and purchase a home when, again, we live in Colorado, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month is what these mortgage payments are. So we have more people coming online that are looking to purchase a house but they've been slowed down because of the hindrance of being able to go out and borrow money. What we're going to see is when interest rates go down, and they will, when interest rates go down and it becomes more affordable, we're going to start to see this inventory number come down. We still don't have enough inventory to sustain our growing population, right? So as we're going through and we're looking at these things, we will see this number go down, but let's look at this. Currently, we're looking at, this is 2024 versus 2025. We have 36% more inventory. This is us. If you didn't know, this is a map. This is Colorado. We're this square. We're not this square. This is Wyoming. We're this square. 36%. We have 36% more inventory today than we did last year. That's why your consumers are slow to the trigger. Yes, disproportionately affected because interest rates, but I think that most people are comfortable with the interest rates right now. They don't like them, but they've grown to an understanding we're not going to see 3% ever again. That was a gift from God. You'll never see 3% ever again. And honestly, that 3%, that's also what caused all these issues that we're in right now. And so the reason why buyers are slow to pull the trigger is because they have options. 36% more inventory than what we had last year. Well, let's look at pre-pandemic. All right, 2019, normal market. Again, 2019 is the last normal market that we saw as real estate agents. We have 29% more inventory in Colorado than what we did versus 2019. Keep in mind, bigger population. We just have people that's slower to go out and purchase houses right now. And not again, it has nothing to do with it. Yes, interest rates do play a part of it. Don't get me wrong. But the bigger issue is they have so much options right now. The inventory levels, there's so many options for the buyers right now. They don't see a reason to re-emulate 2021 and just go and purchase the house. Oh no, let's see what tomorrow brings. Let's see if the seller's willing to drop the price. Hey, we like this house. It checks most of the check boxes. I just don't like the price. And so we're seeing them slower because the houses are sitting for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right? So there is no push to get them to purchase. So again, guys, like as we're looking through this, what we do think is that next month we're going to see some interest rates go down. I do think this number goes down at the same time. This 29% goes down. You start to see more buyers get more active. And keep in mind this, where else are we? We're in a seasonal market. You are in a seasonal industry. All right. So we've had these summer months and we're seeing it. Just think about your own lives right now. What have you been doing? Have you been enjoying the summer a little bit? Have you been hanging out with the kids? Have you been going to some family events? Have you been doing things that are not in your typical because it's been the summer? Probably. And so as we're going through and we're looking at this, what's going to happen is kids are going back off to school. Parents are going to start looking at houses. Life is going to get back to normal again. So you compound, we're getting through the seasonality of people hibernating back into its purchase time. Interest rates start going down. You're going to see less inventory on the board because people are going to start making some decisions.
Hey, Charles, I was
yes.
I guess under the impression, and maybe I just haven't been staying on top of my reading, that like nationally we had an inventory surplus. And I'm looking at some of these states. Are they realistically like 63% below inventory, lower than last year?
Yeah, so check this out. This is 2019. So let's go over here. Oh. So there you go. So there's this. But you can see this is versus last year. And you can see that these guys are just up slightly. So what we've also saw was this. When we saw 2021, we saw the panhandle really start to boom, right? We saw Texas booming. We saw Florida. We just saw like this area kind of like right, well, I guess like in here, to where like the inventory was just abysmal because people were actually rushing out and going purchases. So let's like look at this. So let's just look at versus 2019. And so what we were seeing was these people were going through and they were purchasing all of these properties. Well, then what we saw was this. Now it's shifted. This is the hottest market in the United States right here, this Northeast. This is where all the homes are going off a line very, very quickly. So we saw a shift from all these people, these digital nomads that were able to collect as much money to go work in cheaper areas. They get to go work on the beach. They get to go work on a lake. They got to do whatever they wanted to do. And then we just saw this complete different shift to where this is where all the real estate is actually being sold right now, is up in here. Yeah, we're seeing some places over here in California. There's some slight stuff in Texas. We're seeing some things in Vegas, but this is where the boom is right now, and it just kind of moves around. So this is versus last year, but you can also see this, like here we are. There's your Nevada area. Here's Colorado, 36%. Here's these guys. Look how lower they're, these light green. So they have more inventory, but only because of this last couple months and the tariff talks and the interest rate conversations and everything. But this is the area that was moving very, very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. All right, homes.com. Guys, this is interesting. I don't know what to take from this, but this is what it says. As lawmakers push to nix capital gains tax, here's what it could mean for sellers. More than a third of homeowners could be subject to a levy if they sold today. All right. So we have capital gains tax in the United States. And so let's drop down to this thing. It says the issue that affects individuals and married. So it says couples who file taxes separately and sell a home for at least $250K more than they bought it for, excluding cost of certain home improvements like a new deck. And it says married couples who file jointly aren't subject to taxes unless they net $500,000. Think about where everyone is right now. Like, guys, I want you to think about where we are in Colorado, and we were seeing 10% appreciation year over year for a couple of years, right? When we looked at it, I can tell you that I bought my first home in Colorado for $250,000. And that home right now, which is in Scenic Heights, which is 8 triple lot 4 in Arvada, is probably around $800,000 now. And that was from 2009 until today. I want you guys to be thinking about all the people that bought pre-2000. I want you guys to be thinking about these people that bought in the 1990s that have lived in their home, the people that have lived in their home since the 1960s. I want you guys to think about all the people that have these legacy homes that they've just been holding on to because it makes more sense to pay the property taxes than it is to sell it and get charged 20%, right? To where these guys have more than, $1 million in equity in their home. And if they were to sell it, they would have to pay the government $200,000 at least. And so, guys, what this is doing is this is actually what is also slowing it down. These guys are just like, I'd rather rent it. I'd rather pay the property taxes. This can be my second home. I can do whatever I want. This can be an Airbnb for me. We're also seeing people that are just holding on to homes and they're locking them down for the winter and they go to their summer home. And then after the summer seasons, they lock down their summer home and they go back to their winter home. And it makes more sense for them than to actually sell the house because they have all of this money that they would owe the government. So we do look at this thing and there's some people, there's Republicans and Democrats, bipartisan, that are going through and they're saying, hey, listen, we got to look at this. We got to see like how we can fix this, because if we were to change it to where people wouldn't be taxed so much money if they were to sell some of these legacy homes, would they sell them? And we don't know that, right? Like as a fiduciary to our clients, we might tell our clients to hold on to them, right? But there might be actually people that don't want to be landlords. They rather sell their house, but they also don't want to pay the government hundreds of thousands of dollars for selling these homes. And so as we're looking at this, they're thinking that this might bring more homes online. Now, we don't know. Again, there's no crystal ball. But I also don't know if this is real, because they're also saying that the president has come through and said, like, this is very serious for him as well. The president is saying, like, hey, you know what? If we cannot get the Fed, and I almost think this might be a posturing thing, which is what our president does very, very well. Our president does enough stuff to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do if I don't get my way. And we're just going to make it out. If I can't work with you, I'm going to work around you. right? And so what I don't know is if this is more of a posturing saying, hey, if things don't start going the right way with the Fed, we'll figure out other ways to put more inventory online, right? We'll sell federal land, we'll give tax incentives, we will go through, we'll get rid of capital gains tax, or we'll just change the thresholds because the thresholds have been in place since 1997. Again, I want you to think about the people in your world that bought their homes in the 1990s and how much their home is worth today. Hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars more. And if they were to sell the house, guys, and this is what we think about, check this out. This is what it truly looks like. You have an older baby boomer. Kids have left the nest. They have a 4,000 square foot home. Now, if they sell their home, they could be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to the government. And, right, depending on what the dollar is, and I get 2 out of 5 years, no capital gains, but there's still money that's going to go out. And then on top of that, they have to go buy a new house that costs more money for a lesser of a house now, dollars per square foot's higher. If they have to go take out a loan, which they probably don't, but if they did, right, they're going to have to go through, they got higher interest rates. And this is the bottleneck that we're running into. So now we have these older baby boomers that are like, it doesn't make sense for me to sell my house. I'm going to hold on to it. I don't need all this house, but I don't want to have to go through and pay all the taxes. It does not make sense. So now what do we have? We have these families needing bigger houses that they can't move up. And since the families that need bigger houses can't move up because there's less inventory, and then we have these other families that can't move up, right? They were in their apartments, they can't move up into a first-time home buyer home. Guys, this is the vicious cycle that we're in. We cannot move up because people are not moving out because it does not make sense. So many issues that we're looking at. We don't know. Again, no crystal ball, but this is interesting. So we'll see how this thing plays out. We'll see if the Fed starts dropping rates or if they try to go around the Fed. I talked about this yesterday in Coffee Talk. I'm not going to talk about it deep today. I just want to do it to lead into the next one. It says trigger leads ban bill advances to Trump's desk. All right, trigger leads. This is what it looks like. You have people, they Google how much are interest rates, and they get dropped off on a site that has a paywall behind it. Well, it's a paywall where it's just collecting information. Give us your name, your email, your address, your social security number. We'll do a soft credit pull. We'll tell you what you qualify for. So then they go through, they tell them what they qualify for. They list all these different banks and the different interest rates. And then you know what they do? They sell all of that information to those banks and your clients' phones get blown up. Well, so what they're saying is, hey, this is against the law. So what they're going to do is they are going to stop this. And what they're going to do going forward is they are going to make it to where your client has to give direct, explicit consent before their information can be sold. Your clients aren't going to do that. There's no world where your clients say, yes, please sell my information so my phone can get blown up. All right, pause, bookmark, drops us into this. Abandoned mortgage apps are on the upswing. Home buyers' confusion could be the culprit. Guys, I think this is very real. I think this is some of the issues that we've seen. You've had clients, and we know that we have so much technology. I am literally looking at 4 screens right now. I have the screen where you guys are. I have the screen I'm looking at. I have my iPad. I have my phone. We have so much access to technology and everything's at a fingertip. You can go ChatGPT, I can Google, I can phone a friend, which I'm probably not going to because Google's probably going to be quicker. And then I go through and I have information. Well, here's the confusing part. You go through, and Mitch was talking about this yesterday, if you were on Coffee Talk, because we talked about that slide, is that we go through and you have a consumer that's being told that you qualify for 4%. Well, they qualify for 4% if they can bring $18,000 to buy down the discount points, plus they're putting down 20%, right? Like all these different factors. And so they've been fed this information that was not 100% catered to their explicit situation that they're in. And they're just being told 20,000-foot view, this is what you could do, but no one dove into the numbers. No one went through and double checked all the check boxes. And then they actually got to a real lender Or maybe they didn't even get that far because so much information was coming at them that they got defeated and they got confused. And they said, you know what? I'll just wait. And I think this is where a lot of people are right now. When we start talking about all these people that are going out and get these purchase application day and they're sitting on the fence, I keep encouraging all of you, reach out to your database, put information out online, be the real estate economist of choice. Guys, what this is telling me right here is that people are just going online. They are getting the 20,000 foot view, and there's so much information coming their way, they don't know what to believe. And then their phone starts to ring, and someone's like, hey, I bought your information. That's not what's being told, but they're being told that, hey, you put an inquiry in and now we're reaching out to you. And then they're getting phone call after phone call after phone call and they're not answering their call. If you're like me and if they're like me, you screen your phone calls. You see who's calling. If you don't recognize the number, you probably don't answer it. And now there's this cool feature where you can look at the voicemail as it's coming through and you're like, oh, that's so-and-so, pick up the phone. And so I do think, guys, like as we're going through and we're looking at this thing, especially when we're seeing more interest rate potentially could be coming down, more people are going to come off the fence. What are you doing to get into a relationship, to be that real estate economist of choice, to be able to help your people? And so very, very interesting report where they're going through here and they're saying Gen Z is actually losing confidence very, very quickly as they're getting stressed out because of the cost of insurance and closing cost. All right, cool, guys. So as a real estate agent, as a marketer, what do I think about this? I think that I should go partner with an insurance agent and get some information and have a conversation and put it out online. And closing cost, I'm probably going to go partner with the title company and figure out what are the closing costs that are associated with it. And if you're partnering with the title company, look what our friends over at Land Title sent me today. They sent me this deal. Let's maximize it. Land Title, fresh off the press. Here's 2025. And we're looking at it, average concession $10,000 in 2025, guys. This is big. What are we doing with this information? Are you shouting it from the rooftop? Hey, Gen Z buyers, I know the closing cost and the cost of insurance is high. And I get that you have some doubts of, is home ownership right for you? But did you know the average concession in July of 2025 was $10,000? Yes, sellers are writing checks for $10,000 to help you cover some closing costs.
Is that all residential, Charles, or is it just single family homes?
This is going to be all residential. Yep, residential resale. So this is not new build because we don't have a lot of new build data, but this would be all residential resales. And so we're looking at it. Here's all the price points. 60%, guys. 60% of all homes, residential resales. So not new builds, resales. 60% had a concession tied to them. And if you look at this, right, this definitely skews the numbers. $53,000 for 3 million, right? They had 18. Think about that. Did you guys know that there was 18 homes in Colorado last month that sold for over $3 million, right? Like, and so you're looking at this, also a fun fact. And then so if we're talking about under 500, which is probably your first time home buyer, $8,000. And then if we were just look over the year, it's actually gone up. So if we were to look at just the average over the year, it was 9,500. Last month outpaced it. So are we seeing that some sellers are getting defeated and they're offering more money to get the homes closed? I don't know, maybe. Are we seeing that maybe they're not wanting to fix some things and they rather just throw money at the conversation? Maybe. We don't know what is driving this number, but it's gone up. It's gone up $700. Let's round between friends, $700. And so what would $700 do for your people? And these are the conversations. We can arm our buyers with this. We can prepare our sellers with this information. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're selling your home for, $600,000 and just wanted to prep you that we're seeing around $10,000 in concessions that are coming in. And so when we're looking at all of these different factors, This could be one of the things that I want to prep you for that we could be seeing. Guys, put this information out here. This is good information. As the real estate becomes the choice and helping people with the largest financial decision that most Americans make in their lifetime, and you guys have access to this data, your consumers could probably trip over this, but they don't know what to even look for. What are you doing? Is this a social media post? Is this in your email newsletter? Are you going through and you're doing your happy hours and you're like, hey, fun fact, and when they're saying, how's the market? And you're saying, well, one of the interesting things that just came out is that we were looking at data for July of 2025, and we saw that the average concession was $10,000 in the Denver metro. Well, what does that mean? Well, what that means, right? And guys, like, this is the cool stuff. As the real estate economist the choice, and you guys are on a class and you're not learning for learning's sake, you're learning for earning's sake, and you're learning this information and you're able to go through and help your people win. Guys, this is where this stuff gets neat. Let's switch back over. And double check. Yes, perfect. So then it says baby boomers. Baby boomers were the least overwhelmed group. All right. They're relying on human experts. Okay, cool. The Gen Z, they're going to TikTok, they're going to Facebook, they're going to Instagram, they're going to blog articles, they're trying to go figure this stuff out. They're going onto Zillow and not talking to anybody, doing the price calculator. How do we break through the noise? Baby boomers are going to you. You just have to get in a relationship with them. They're comfortable if they're talking to you guys. What are our marketing platforms that we're doing to get in front of these people? But let's switch it over. Let's talk about Logan Motoshami, right? Lead analyst for Housing Wire, will be at the Rocky Mountain Summit this year. Super cool. Mortgage rates fell, breaking below the key threshold. This is why is this important? Because in the last 3 years, when mortgage rates fell from 6.64 to 6%, housing demand improved. Full stop. Guys, it's about to get good. It is. Please, please hear me. You need to get back into relationship with your people. The dam is about to break. And so as we're going through, we're not going to talk about the 10-year yield. We're not going to talk about the treasury. We're not going to talk about spreads, but purchase mortgage application data. Here we are, guys. And I get that it has gone down versus last week, but it's still higher than what it was last year. And here's the deal. This isn't saying that less people are qualified. It's saying less people went out to go get qualified versus last week. You still have more people that got qualified versus this time last year. So as you're looking at this downward trend, it's week over week data of people actually going out and talking to a lender. It's not saying that less people are qualified. It's saying less people raise their hand, but you still have all of these people. Because keep in mind, your qualifications for about 6 months. So you have all of these people, guys. We're in August. Let's go back to February. There's your 6-month mark. All of these people are in the hopper. And your question you should be asking yourself is this anyone that's in my ecosystem that Googled interest rates and talked to a lender without talking to me? And what can I do to get back into relationship with this person? Because I know based off of everything that I'm seeing that interest rates are going to go down. No, we don't have a crystal ball, but everything is pointing that way. Your pending sales, guys, we can see this. Here we are, seasonality. We're flatlining, right? Like we're right in line where everything is. So no news here. Your pending data, same thing. We're following the trend, seasonality. Nothing crazy here. Your national single family inventory up 20% over last year. Guys, again, 2019, normal market. And we're pacing slowly, but we're pacing to start breaking this thing. So you see that they kind of flatlined a little bit of a bump. We're still kind of trending upwards slowly, but we're still trending upwards. So we'll see what this looks like, because remember, most sellers become buyers. And so what do we also have? We also have Gen Z and millennials. Most of them are not going to put inventory on the board. And so what I mean by that is interest rates go down and we start seeing this population of first-time home buyers. Well, they're just going to be taking inventory off the board. They're not going to be putting a new home on to sell. Where we have the baby boomer generation, the Gen X, those guys are going to go through. They're going to sell a house At the same time, they're buying a house. Most likely, they could keep it, they could do whatever there. What are we also seeing? We're also seeing kids moving with their parents. We're seeing parents moving with their kids and they decide what to do with the other house. We've also seen that. So we don't really know what this could do. But what I believe will probably happen is we're going to see this inventory level start going down. So we're at 27%. We'll start to see if this thing starts shrinking as we're going through and we're seeing interest rates go down here. Your new listing data, here we are, seasonality again. Look, guys, all these dips, nothing crazy. These aren't headlines. This is seasonality. All right. We're seeing people slow down. We're going to go hang out with the kids. This is the summer. We want to make sure that we're creating memories, core memories with our children, with our family. And so kids are going back off to school. It's time to get serious again. What were our dreams? What were our ambitions? The American dream, time to go buy a house, time to put our house on the market. We're going to start seeing it pick up a little bit. Then we start to see it kind of tinker down a little bit. Guys, this is only seasonality. The only thing different is that 22, 23, 24, 20, 25, none of these markets are the same. The biggest motivating factor that people have going for them is the cost of money. Life events happen, doesn't make sense. That's all we're looking at right now. And again, interest rates going down will help you. Your price cut percentage, we're at 41%. We do know, historically speaking, 1/3 of all homes take a price cut every year. 41.7%, all that's pointing to is this. We're seeing motivated sellers that have been sitting on the market that have maybe not been as motivated or getting more motivated. And so when we think about the principle of substitution, you know that your clients are not going to pay more than what they have to pay. And so as we're seeing more inventory hit the market, right? As we're seeing more inventory hit the market, 27%, and a house comes online on the same street as somebody else's, well, how does the first home take more mind share? They got to be cheaper. So we see a price cut. We get this. There's nothing crazy here. So jobless claim data, we did see it a little bit. Again, this is what's interesting about jobless claim data, guys. Like, it's self-reported numbers. At the end of the day, it's self-reported numbers. We saw that somebody actually came through and screwed up. And so as we're looking at this, we're going to go through and we will see what happens. But if this number starts ticking up and inflation is cooling, we're going to have to see the Fed take some action. Let's look at your interest rates. So this is 1 month at a time. This is July 5 to August 4th. And so as we're going through here, guys, this is where we're living right now. So this isn't necessarily prime, but for all intents and purposes, this is prime. This is a pretty qualified buyer. And so a pretty qualified buyer, as we're looking at this is what we can see. We can see the FHA 6.3 and you're conforming 6.6. Guys, it's gone down. And I don't necessarily like this bumpiness that we're actually seeing, because this is really done by stock traders and bond traders and the news and everything. Like, it's the one, the president's at fault here too, right? Like, everyone is at fault with this thing. And so every time that someone gets a headline and starts making some noise, we are seeing this. This is what scares your people. Now, if we keep seeing this trajectory down, this is where it's going to get weird, because then are we going to see some people that are waiting to time the market? And so this is, again, while I'm having some conversation, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Home Buyer, what are your ambitions to buy, sell, or invest in the next 1, 3, 5 years? And they tell you interest rates, and you say, awesome, what would be a good interest rate? And they tell you what it is, and then you can have the concession talk and everything else. Like, that's where it starts getting exciting here. So as we're looking at this thing in the Fed meeting again next month, what we could see is interest rates going down. And with interest rates going down, guys, I think it's going to start flooding. And so what do we need to do? We need to make sure that our people are pre-qualified. Let's figure out what that number is. Let's start getting them in a place to where they can pull the trigger. And if we know what their ideal payment is, because here's the deal. They know what they want. They want a 4-bed, 3-bath home in Arvada for X amount of dollars, right? Whatever that is. Like, I'm not saying that's everyone, but that's what they're looking for. They have a bedroom count, they have a bathroom count, they have a square footage, they got a yard, no yard, 2-car garage, whatever. And they have an ideal monthly payment. So let's figure out what their baseline is with today's numbers. And then let's figure out what it looks like, because here's the deal. If we wait and we wait and we wait, we see a rate cut, they start to jump on it, they're going to be at a disadvantage. So now it's important to be able to have these conversations with them to set them up for success for when everything does line up, when the stars align and they look at us as the real estate economist of choice, as their fiduciary, not their functionary, not the paper pusher, not tour guide Barbie, right? Not the person that's just turning keys and sending them the MLS and praying that they buy. Like, no, no, no. We are here to help them win. We are educating them. We're educated agents. We are getting them all the information. We have the vendor partners. We know the concession data. We can see inventory levels. We know that there's a lot of talks around interest rates right now. We can foreshadow some of the things that need to happen. Let's make sure we're in conversations with these people so we can set them up for success.